the magic word. Here in the secret kindergarten, the world's best show for kids is starting. The secret kindergarten radio show. Use your ears and your imagination. We're going to play, we're having fun. The magic secret kindergarten on the Revolution radio station.
Welcome back to the Secret Kindergarten. I'm your host, Gino. And in this half hour, we have got lots of cool stuff going on. You better buckle up because we're going on a picnic. We are going on a picnic. I'm going to read you a little poem. We're going to talk about a thing called courtesy. Do you know what that is? You better. I'm going to play some music. I'm going to play a story about a child and a tree. And right now, I want to talk to you about the world's father. So everybody has a daddy. You know what? The whole world has a daddy too. And that daddy is the world's father. You know, children, you live in a house. All with a family and have a mummy and a daddy to take care of you and to love you and to teach you. They are much bigger than you, and they know how to do things that you are too little to do yet. Sometimes they try to show you how, and then you try your best to do them like they showed you. Dad takes care of you, keeps a nice home for you to live in, and Mum takes care of you in the house and teaches you many things and helps you and loves you. And if you are ill or sad, she knows better than anyone else how to make you feel well and glad again. Well, now, all the families in the world each have a father and a mother. But have you ever wondered if there were not somebody who looked after all the families together? The fathers and mothers in them as well as the children? Just let us think how many, many families there are in the world. And oh, so many people. Isn't there someone who looks after them and helps them all the time and loves them? Yes, there is somebody. There is somebody who is the great big father of every one of us. Everybody in the world. You and me and Dad. And not only all of the people, but all of the animals too. And of all the flowers and the trees and even the pebbles. They all live in his house, and he looks after all of them. His house is the world and all the things in it. The people, the animals, the flowers are his children. There is no one who does not belong to him. They are all his children. That is why they live in his house. It is a beautiful house, isn't it? And what a number of brothers and sisters we have in it. Some of our brothers and sisters in our big father's house are very tiny little ones. Such little tiny baby ones. Like the kitty cat. Or the daisies out amongst the grass. Many people have called our big father different names to know him by. We call him God. A long way away, in other countries where they do not talk the same language as we do, they call him by another name. Perhaps the animals and the flowers do not call him by any name. They only just know he is there, looking after them. Where does he live, did you say? He lives everywhere in his big house all at once. We can't see him, as yet. Perhaps someday, ever such a long time away in the future, we shall. But we can feel him and know about him now. You know, sometimes Mum takes you right up in her arms, and how nice it feels to have Mother's arms all around you. Just in the same way God's arms are all around his children in his world. Only sometimes they cannot see that it is so. Sometimes they are sad. And because they are sad, they forget all about their big father and do things they wouldn't do. Perhaps if they remembered, but that does not make God stop loving them. He loves them all the more because they have forgotten all about him, and so they are sad. He says, I must make them remember again. Then they will be happy. God teaches all the people in the world how to do everything beautiful. He taught Mum how to love you. And he taught Dad how to be clever and work hard to help all of you. Sometimes he tells you too. You can always hear God talking to you if you want to. He puts kind thoughts into your heart. When you love somebody very much, or when you run to help anybody, that is because God whispered it into your heart. He said, Jane, baby is cross because it is raining and he cannot go out. Will you play with him and make him laugh? Then your heart said, yes, dear God, of course I will. So that is why you did it. Whenever you are cross or unkind, that is because you have forgotten for a minute all about him. And so you did not hear him talking. Woo! That was a good one. That was a lovely one. Okay? So now, you know that we're all in this big giant house. Okay? I'm going to play you a story. And this one's called The Child and the Pine Tree.
The Child and the Pine Tree by Ethel, Arthington, Fielden. Many, many years ago, there was in a distant land a great kingdom which was governed by a powerful ruler who was so constantly waging war with other nations that he was very seldom in his own country. This king had a very beautiful wife who was shy and timid and almost afraid of her stern husband. He loved her dearly in his rough manner, but he never thought that she might be lonely at home alone while he was far away fighting in distant lands. Once, when he returned after a great victory, he found that during his long absence his gentle wife had quietly passed away, and that a dear baby girl was his own little daughter. The king grieved for his wife, but after a short time went abroad to other countries, fighting always and seeming to forget all about his little baby at home. Years passed by, and the king did not return. The baby grew to be a gentle child, whose face always wore an expression of sadness, for she had never known either father or mother, never had a playmate of her own age in all her life, and had always lived alone in the cold stone castle which crowned a high hill surrounded by forests. These forests were the delight of the child, for she knew and loved the first little spring violet which bloomed in the edges of the grim old woods. During the long summer days she really lived among the trees until the goldenrod and sumac came to tell her that summer was nearly gone and that winter would soon come and shut her up, a prisoner in the gray old castle again. Of all the trees of the forest, the child loved one little pine tree best. I believe it was because it grew in such a delightful spot, with soft green moss all covering the ground underneath it, and because it overlooked the distant ocean where occasionally a great ship with white sails would go by. The pine tree and the child often talked together, and she, curling up in the moss at the foot of the pine, would put her arms around its trunk and tell it of her dreams and fancies. And the pine would whisper back stories of its own life, how on the cold, cold winter nights when the ground was all white with snow and the whole world was still, the clear stars came out and twinkled in the dark sky and told the little pine stories of other places and the things they saw as they shone down into the different parts of the world. So, as time went on, the child and the pine tree became more and more fond of each other. The birds fed out of the child's hand, and the frisky little squirrels often played about her without the slightest fear. One evening at the close of a hot summer day, the child came into the forest, intending to stay only a few moments to bid the trees and flowers good night. She had never been in the forest at that time before, and everything seemed strange. She had not gone far, however, when she heard a voice in the breeze saying to her, "I am the spirit of the pine tree. Come, little playmate, to the gathering of the flowers and leaves and grass." The child followed as if she were in a dream. When she reached the pine tree, there was the most wonderful sight she had ever dreamed of. Gathered around the little tree were fairies, elves, and flower spirits. They were all having such a merry time that for a moment she stood, unseen, watching them. While she was standing thus, a tiny fairy in a gown of violet petals saw her, and at once all the merry party came and took her to a beautiful little throne under the pine tree and bade her sit upon it. Then suddenly a hush fell upon them all, and the spirit of the pine was heard saying, "This child shall evermore be queen of the trees and flowers. She shall never be lonesome again, for fairies, elves, and sprites shall always be ready to do her slightest bidding. Her every wish shall be granted, and the trees of the forest shall always be her dearest friends." When the voice had finished speaking, all the fairies danced around the child and crowned her with a crown of violets, and put into her hand a golden scepter with a tiny glittering star on the end. And after this, the child was never lonely again.
Aren't pine trees awesome and magical? They really looked after that child. Let's play some music. With thanks to Nancy Stewart of nancymusic.com.
On a moonlit night when the stars are out, there are nocturnal animals all about. Ooh, ooh, what do I see? A wise old owl looking at me. On a moonlit night when the stars are out, there are nocturnal animals all about. Meow, meow, what do I see? A big black cat just looking at me. On a moonlit night when the stars are out, there are nocturnal animals all about. Ee, 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 what do I see? A little bat just looking at me. On a moonlit night when the stars are out, there are nocturnal animals all about. Ribbit, ribbit, what do I see? A big green tree frog looking at me. On a moonlit night when the stars it's true. And it only takes two to make another pretty color for you. Every color that you see is made by mixing just these three: red and yellow and blue. Red and yellow and blue. Red and blue make purple. Red and blue make purple. Red and blue make purple. That's the way the colors go. Red and yellow and blue make so many pretty colors, it's true. And it only takes two to make another pretty color for you. And it only takes two to make another pretty color for you. Mama's gonna rock you in her arms, in her arms, in her arms. Mama's gonna rock you in her arms. Pretty baby, you're surrounded in love. Daddy's gonna rock you in his arms, in his arms, in his arms. Daddy's gonna rock you in his arms. Pretty baby, you're surrounded in love. Grandma's gonna rock you in her arms, in her arms, in her arms. Grandpa's gonna rock you in his arms. Pretty baby, you're surrounded in love. Auntie's gonna rock you in her arms, in her arms, in her arms. Uncle's gonna rock you in his arms. Pretty baby, you're surrounded in love. Cousin's gonna rock you in their arms, in their arms, in their arms. Cousin's gonna rock you in their arms. Pretty baby, you're surrounded in love. Family's gonna rock you in its arms, in its arms, in its arms. Family's gonna rock you in its arms. Pretty baby, you're surrounded in love. Pretty baby, you're surrounded in love. Pretty baby, you're surrounded in love.
I'm going to read you a little parable. I think it's a parable. Let's just call it a story from the Panchatantra, which is a collection of very old stories from India. And this story is about a Brahmin. And a Brahmin is a priest in India. And a Brahmin performs pujas and hawans. And pujas and hawans are prayers and ceremonies. So basically he's a priest doing his thing. Okay? And this one is called courtesy. And I chose this because being courteous, which is like basically being nice and polite to other people, is very important. And this story shows us why. Once upon a time, there lived a poor Brahmin in a village. He used to perform pujas and hawans in the nearby villages. Once another Brahmin came to his house and said, "I have to perform some puja. Will you kindly allow me to stay in your house for a few days?" The Brahmin gladly received him and allowed him to stay in his house. One day, the Brahmin said to his wife, "Today is Sankranti. See that our Brahmin guest is well fed. A guest is equivalent to God, so be courteous to him." The Brahmin's wife became angry to hear this and said, "It's not enough to be courteous only. There must be something in the house to offer the guest for eating." Unfortunately, I have nothing in my kitchen to offer. Besides, you never made ornaments for me, nor did you ever buy good clothes for me. Such is the situation in this house, and you ask me to take full care of your guest?" She argued with the Brahmin, but he kept his cool. The Brahmin consoled his wife. "Dear, I know we are poor, but even then we should offer some food to our guest. It's more of the expression of our good feelings than the real food." Then the Brahmin's wife said, "I have a little sesame seed in the house. I'll make some dish of it and offer it to the Brahmin guest." She prepared the sweet dish from the sesame seeds and offered it to the guest. Courtesy is the sign of good behavior. So what would you do? Would you just kick that guy out? "Get out of here, you weirdo. Want to stay here for 3 days? We don't even know you." I'm going to read you a poem now. This poem is so short that it's going to be finished in less time than it takes to announce it. But it's an Edward Lear poem. It's a shout out to Willow from Willow's Poetry Corner. The Young Person in Green. There was a young person in green, who seldom was fit to be seen. She wore a long shawl over bonnet and all, which enveloped that person in green. You know, I was supposed to say enveloped. I just see the word envelope with a D on the end. But colours are magic, and you kids know that, so you can teach us grown-ups all the magic of colours. Colours can make you happy, colours can make you sad. Colours can affect things that go on inside the body. Whoa, ho, 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 ho. I sound like Santa, because we're about to go on a picnic. All right. Are you ready for a picnic? Where do you want to go? I want to go to where some pine trees are, because they're magic. Okay? Just no redwood pines near San Francisco. Let's just go somewhere else, okay? It'll be better there. Let's go to a pine forest. A little clearing in the woods for a lovely picnic. Now, what are you going to bring? You know what? It's really cold here. I'm going to bring a hot cup of tea. It's a pot of tea. On a picnic, you wouldn't bring the pot, would you? You'd bring a thermos. So you'd make the pot of tea and you'd pour it into a thermos container. So you can take the hot tea with you. I'm bringing pizza. I'm bringing cold pizza because I love warm pizza, hot pizza, cold pizza. You know what? I'd probably eat frozen pizza. You know what? If it was frozen, I'd probably still eat it in the summer. What are you going to bring? I hope you bring some yummy vegetables, because vegetables are really yum. It's just that when you go to the supermarket, sometimes they're not very nice, and then you feel like you have to buy them because you got to be healthy, and then you eat them and they're really yucky, and then all the kids hate vegetables. Well, guess what? I'm going to bring some vegetables for you. I'm going to make them delicious. I'm going to make them so yum that you're going to fall in love with salad. You're going to fall in love with broccoli. Oh yeah, broccoli. I can make it yummy. And that's the bottom of the hour here at the Secret Kindergarten. Thanks so much for tuning in. I love you. Bye.